Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to Quick Shot Reviews, the dedicated movie channel for Cheap Shot Entertainment. Once again, I am your host Luke and we have another new film. It feels nice to say that we have another new film here for your reviewing enjoyment. And it is Studio 666, a 2022 movie directed by B.J. McDonnell, based off a story by Dave Grohl, who is obviously the main guy in the Foo Fighters. And this was basically a Foo Fighters horror movie. There was a massive nod to everything that people love about the horror genre. So if you want to hear my thoughts on this film, or if you've seen it and you want to give us a comment, leave us a comment down below or at the side or wherever your comments box is. Let us know what you thought of Studio 666. I really enjoyed this film and I'm not afraid to say so because it is good. It is genuinely really, really enjoyable. Didn't feel as long as it actually was at an hour and 46 minutes. A few slow bits, but mostly it was very well paced. So, join us for the main part of the video, but before you do all that kind of stuff, make sure you like and subscribe to Cheap Shot Entertainment, to Quick Shot Reviews, to Cheap Shot Entertainment System, and they are all of my channels based on Cheap Shot Entertainment, including Quick Shot Reviews, which is what you're watching now. So, if you are part of the Cheap Shot Nation, join me for the main part of the video. So Studio 666 is about the legendary rock band the Foo Fighters, who move into the Encino mansion steeped in grisly rock and roll history to record their much anticipated 10th album. Starring Dave Grohl as himself, Nate Mendel as himself, Pat Smear as himself, Taylor Hawkins as himself, Rami Jaffe as himself, Chris Shrift as himself, Whitney Cummings as Samantha, she is the hot neighbour of course, and Jeff Garlin plays Jeremy Schill. And that is pretty much everything you need to know in terms of the cast. So we'll get straight into the rest of the film now, and the how great this film actually is. It was a laugh a minute. It was so good. Do you have to be a Foo Fighters fan to enjoy this film? Absolutely not. Do you have to be a horror movie fan to get the nods? Absolutely not. This could be and is a very much standalone film. Everyone from young to old movie fans can enjoy this one, even if the younger fans may not be as familiar with the band as some of the 30 plus year olds that grew up with the Foo Fighters, with all their songs and things. So what is important here is that horror and comedy fans are not going to be disappointed. And they will certainly be entertained like I was in the cinema. It's the first time, and it was great, it's the first time in a long time that I've actually heard people laughing out loud in a cinema, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. First time in a long time. Surprised how gory this was and how authentic it was to horror fans. You can tell Dave Grohl is a big horror nerd just like me. It's also got the venture to say that it's equal parts horror and equal parts comedy. So it's not like completely cheesy. It's not at all a spoof. But what it is, it's grounded in reality with little supernatural elements to it as well. Like I say, people were laughing out loud audibly. The jokes that were intended, they hit with great accuracy. The writer's block from Dave Grohl, he never has writer's blocks. Creative differences, egos, groupies, each other, Coldplay, etc. Everything was referenced here in this movie. Got a real kick out of the cameos from legendary filmmaker John Carpenter doing a bit of the editing for the 10th album, who also wrote this movie's theme as well, as the cult theme maker Jason Trost. I will admit as well to being a fairly big Foo Fighters fan in terms of their music. I almost grew up with them, with MTV generation. If there wasn't a Foo Fighters music video on, then I would have been very surprised at the time. So, I've got their albums, I've got the best ofs. I listen to them all the time, the feel good music with that little rock element, which is absolutely fantastic. Got the soundtrack to the film is fantastic as well. We've got a touch of Dave Grohl, who created the music for back in the 90s, and is also a fan of horror and good comedies. And as discussed here, the film does deliver both in this one. It's really quite good. It's really enjoyable. Delivers the goods, basically. The film creeps into a third, possibly overlooked and underappreciated genre as well by many, and this is the idea of the band movie. Band and musical solo artist movies go back decades, most famously with Elvis and the Beatles, doing quite a lot of films themselves, and Vanilla Ice, of course, and American Idol, Lightning in a Bottle, from Justin to Kelly, and to everyone everywhere in between. The band movie hasn't been done for a long time, and this definitely creeps over that threshold. It's hard to capture everything that it wants to do in this movie, but it's better than Kiss meets the Phantom. Yes, it's really good. Spent a few decades perfecting the Foo Fighters name and the sound and everything else, even to the point where the ending is probably a little bit rushed with all the build up to it as well. But the idea that they're creating this one huge 45-minute song, I just find really amusing. And it was just good. It was so good. It was so refreshing. Yes, it was a horror film and it had the nods, but it was new. It was something different. And it's something, like I said, about the band movies we don't get to see very often. And it is, and will continue to be, one of my favourite films I've seen in 2022 so far. And with that, if you're a fan of horror movies, fan of music, then you will get the significant nods that they give to both things in this movie. If you don't particularly like the Foo Fighters, give it a go anyway, because it is really, really fun. It's such a fun movie. I think even non-horror fans can enjoy this and be creeped out by the practical effects that are used in this film. And I can't wait till James A. Janice does a kill count on his channel for this one, because he will really struggle to give the golden chainsaw. There are some really, really gruesome, really quite cool kills in this one, and I really appreciate this film to the point where I may even just buy it on Blu-ray because it is that good. Not being this happy with a horror movie since Ready or Not back in 2019, and more recently Willy's Wonderland, which again, all very diversive in how they are perceived, but I loved those three movies in particular, and obviously the third one being this one. And with that, I would say go and watch this film. Give it a go. Even if you're and ahhing. The film industry's too saturated with comic book movies and horror movies that are just churned out. This one feels good. There you go. Got it all out. Anyway, you are the Cheap Shot Nation. I've been your host, Luke. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave us a comment in the comments section if you have seen this film. Let us know what you thought. You can join us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And with that, I am out. Goodbye.
Hiya.